So this is a module number 6, and Ansible roles is again an important part of Ansible infrastructure management and configuration and orchestration. So the major parts is writing a playbooks, using modules inside the playbooks, and the now is the roles part. Roles part is critical, and we're going to start working on roles now. Before going on what role is, we are going to start explaining what role is. Roles in Ansible build an idea of include files and combine them to form a clean reusable abstractions. So what I mean to tell, so no need to just worry about the definitions given here. So what I mean to tell here is whenever we are going into the playbooks directory, right? So when we go to the playbooks directory, the YAML file is going to grow like anything. So I'm into my third node mission, so there's no, I need to go back to my master mission here. The YAML files are growing like anything. I can just go to any YAML file and you can just see the YAML files will grow as and when the tasks are increased. In a host machine, we can see almost like 30 to 40 tasks, or almost like 100 tasks are written in a single YAML file. That will become our job tedious. We want some kind of mechanism where we can automate things in writing the YAML files and writing the playbooks as well, isn't it? So what does this role do? Roles in Ansible build an idea of including the files and combining them into a form of clean reusable abstractions. The more we start working on roles, you're going to understand what the role is all about and how the role is going to function about. So we'll start with understanding includes of roles make more sense, and it's very clean and efficient architecture rather than just writing a playbook, less including modules inside the playbook. It's a one step ahead compared to what we have discussed till now. Roles are great, and you should use them at every time when you write playbooks, and it's going to be helpful in a longer run as well. So let's use roles and write playbook and write a Ansible architecture where we can just use them in on our daily infrastructure basis for our production works and automate most of the things. So we were discussing on roles. So before we go further, so as I told you, so the normal playbooks and a normal YAML file are very tedious to write. It will be like a long string of language which is written. If it's like there are a lot of tasks to be done, and that the playbook and the YAML file grows. So we can use a concept called roles. We can just split up the YAML file, demonstrate them into a kind of concept called roles. So roles in Ansible build that is going to include files or a variety of structured way of representing the way we run the playbook. So let's focus on big picture, how we can dive down and details when needed. So let's start with something called the directory structure and the templates. So we talk about roles. Let's demonstrate major areas and functions at one time. Before we start further, we should be able to form a kind of directory structure to demonstrate the way the roles explain the task which needs to be performed. So what we are going to do now is we are into a playbooks directory. We'll come out of the playbook directory. We don't want to use a normal playbooks and write in the lot of YAML files and write in the data. So that is going to populate at a big time, right? So what we need to do is we need to create a form of roles now. So I have done a practice a couple of days back, and make sure the roles are there. So I don't want to use them. I'm just copying that back, and I'll just put backup. So I'm going to remove this one. I will start creating roles now. Remember, we have worked on playbooks where we are created a lot of YAML files, execute the task one by one in a sequential way, where we are making sure that the number of tasks increases, the number of data increases. Now we need to form a directory structure. We need to create a directory structure for that. So on a top end, we know that playbooks uses a capital P for so we are used playbooks. Now we are going to create a new directory called make directory called roles. We are creating a directory structure. So once we created the directory called roles, we will go inside the roles, create a smaller directory called roles. So just with this directory structure is by default available in every playbook file or every roles Ansible file. The moment we create small roles, we make sure you are inside the small roles. Perfect. So now I'm going to create 5 directories. 5 directories according to my host file, etc Ansible space in between. I'm going to just remove that. I'm going to create a directory called make directory called Red Hat. Perfect. Make directory called app server. Perfect. Make directory called Ubuntu. Perfect. So I have created 3 directories, and I'm going into app server directory. I can create any kind of arbitrary directory. No need to just copy it from the host file. You can create test, you can create nginx, any kind of directory, but the directory structure should be same. Now, as of now, what we have done is tree. I'm going to use tree command to make sure the directory structure is intact and show the high level picture. We have created a roles, we have created a smaller roles directory, and we have created 3 directories inside it. I'm going into app server now. You can go to any other directories you created and create further few directory structure. So here are the important thing. Here we need to create a called make directory called files, make directory called templates, which we have discussed some time back. The templates are nothing but kind of creation of the own mechanism, the creation of the same YAML file again and again. So make directory called tasks, make directory called handlers. If you have been listen to lecture number 4 of module Ansible playbook, the concept of handlers is coming to the picture there. And handlers are nothing but event caretakers, where there's something event is happening and the handlers will take care of that event. Make directory called vars. So we're going to define variables inside this vars directory. Make directory called defaults. So that's it. Yeah, we are missing one more thing. Make directory called meta. So a normal roles directory structure will have all this stuffs. So tree roles. Oops, it's tree capital roles, capital R. This is a directory structure of a normal roles in an Ansible architecture. Remember, we are not doing inside playbooks, we are doing in our home directory, and this is a normal directory structure. We have a bigger role in picture, you have a smaller roles will have certain directories like Red Hat, Ubuntu, app server, as I show you. These directory structure should be created. So what I'm going to do now is the same directory structure I need to create in other roles as well. So make directory defaults. So we can do it make directory defaults and handlers. Okay, meta, tasks, templates, and vars. So I'm just cut it. I'm not pasting it. I'm going to cut it and I'm going to copy this. I go into my roles directory. As we know that we have the a smaller role directory inside. I have already created an app server. Like I just go to app server, I can see all the directories available. So I'm going to go to Red Hat now. Create the directories, paste the directories. Perfect. I'm going to go to Ubuntu now. Oops, it's Ubuntu. Paste the directories. I go to double of role backwards and clear the screen. Just type tree and capital roles. You can see now this is the directory structure which we usually form when we are writing a playbook and demonstrating the roles, Ansible roles framework. So if the moment the hosts group keep on adding, and each host group will have certain directories called defaults, where we will have default mechanisms or default files which is going to be run by default during boot time. Files is a directory where we'll keep all the files. Handlers is something which will keep all the handlers or events to handle. Meta is to keep the metadata. Tasks are our regular tasks, such as we were writing the commands called command module, ping module, yum module, shell module. Every task will be written in this directory. Templates is required where we are using a kind of orchestration like Jinja 2 templates and a kind of Apache templates. We can create vars, create a static var file, and we can redirect all the variables inside this. So remember, 7 directories are usually available in case of Ansible rules, and that should be there as and when our Ansible infrastructure increases. So let's progress further. You're going to understand why we are doing all those 7 directories and what is the benefit out of that as we start explaining the examples one by one. Okay, now we have a roles as we discussed. Like we can see a tree. I always check roles like this to make sure our directory structure is intact and we're not missing on anything. Perfect. In order to demonstrate roles, let me just verify whether my Ansible infrastructure is clean and good. All -m ping. It's gonna check my Ansible infrastructure. Yes, it's working good as expected. Let's move further. So we have created a directory and created a template folder, and we start working on roles to demonstrate the major areas and functions one at a time. So in this lecture, we're going to start working on something called role-based tasks. How are you executing the YAML file using roles framework in Ansible technology. So how are we going to do that? Just follow through the example which I'm going to show you now, and you're going to understand better way to demonstrate the stuff. Instead of just writing a playbook and YAML file and executing it, we can use something called role concept, which is going to be less tedious and clean and clear way. So let's start with an example. As our Ansible environment is intact, let's check my Ansible host file. Everything is configured and everything is intact, right? Now I got type tree. Oh, I don't want to get all those details. Okay, I need to be in my roles directory, type tree, to make sure that I am into proper roles directory. Remember, we are not doing everything in playbook. Okay, so let's go inside roles. Let's go inside my app servers, roles, app server, the first directory as you see, and I'll go and just type double L to see my directories. Yes, directories. Every YAML file will be written inside task. Okay, so we go to task directory, follow up the steps properly. We are into this path now, so we will go into task. That is the particular directory where we'll keep all the tasks what we want to execute in Ansible infrastructure. Okay, so app server, we go inside app server, we go inside tasks, and there's nothing here. I'm going to put a new file called main.yml. I'm not putting it accordingly to the task name. Every file name should be main.yml. I'm going to write a YAML file. So that YAML file will be like this. Name install Apache web server vm pkg equal to httpd state equal to latest. That's the same package mechanism we were doing earlier. I'm going to just use notify is to restart httpd. What does this do? Remember, I am writing this main.yaml file inside the task directory, and I'm writing a particular installation of package and notifying called restart httpd. The notify restart httpd will go to the handler section, right? This will go to the handler section. We are not continuing in the same YAML file. We are just saving and executing, and go back to my handler file. Inside the handle file, I'm going to use main.yml. Remember, I'm not giving a file name. I'm just using main.yml inside the directory. I'm just putting a task restart httpd. The notification heading and the task of handler heading should be same. Otherwise, the handler is not going to function as expected. Service name equal to httpd state equal to restarted. Save this file, and let's define some random variables inside random variables directory. Variables. Here also we are going to use main.yml file. Everywhere the main.yml file should be used. We are going to use copyright, just a kind of Apache license, just a variable which does not affect us anything, just to make sure that I have shown that there will be a variable directory and we'll have variables defined inside it. Now, where we are up to? So we are here, tree roles. I can see now I have used app server group where my app server exists, and I have written main.yaml file in handler section which will notify restart httpd. I have written main.file where I'm going to install package, and that notify command inside it is going to connect back to handler internally, and we are defined some kind of dummy variables. Fine. Okay, now to execute all this, I'm going to say that to execute all this one by one. So this main.yaml file and variable has a variable defined, the task will have task defined, and it has a notify handler which is going to go back to my handler section here and execute that task. To run all those things, I want to have a master playbook file, right? So I go to this path, and I'm going to use app server.yml, the master playbook file. Excuse me. I'm going to write something like this: master playbook for installing Apache. I'm going to write another playbook here which will be simple and defined. If you're writing everything in one page, it's going to be complex, isn't it? Host will be, I'm going to mention app server, and user is test, and sudo is yes, connection is SSH. Here, instead of earlier we used to write a task, so instead of that we need to call roles. What role? App server. So now if you just type tree roles, we have one yapserver.yaml file defined in an external boundary of roles, right? This yapserver.yaml is a master file. It's a master file which is going to connect to my app server. That means my host available in etc ansible hosts, and it has a role called app server. This is a role app server, so it's going to connect to this app server, execute all those below tasks. So let's start working with this now. Now I am into main roles directory. I go to roles and I'm just executing this app server by YAML. It's a main playbook file, and it is going to connect to this app server and execute all the tasks in between. So let's use ansible -playbook app server .yml -, check. I don't want to just execute it. I just want to check if it's going to happen or not. See, it is happening, but here the service is not getting restarted. Let me just verify why it's not getting restarted. Could not find the requested service restart HTTPD. This is connecting to this thing and it's not going to find the restarted. So let me just go into my roles directory and go into app directory, app server, and I go to handler, because the handler is getting failed. Go here and just type vim main.yaml. So here we are having service restarted, right? Let me just remove it and put started. Let me see, it's going to work fine. I'm going to execute the main YAML app server.yaml file. Check. Okay, could not find the requested service HTTPD. Okay, I'm going to just remove, because it's not getting installed. So I'm going to just check with remove without thing, and now it's going to restart because it is defined in a separate thing, because control is error code. Okay. I go to app server, I go to handlers, I go to main dot. Okay, it's gonna restart space HTTPD. Restarted, and go back into my tasks directory, check if there is any problem, and I'm gonna go to main.yml, and to make sure that it's working good, let me just check that properly. Okay, restart space capital HTTPD is available. So fine, so let me just restart the YAML file without the check option. Could not be found. Yeah, app ansible -playbook app server.yml. It's going to install the Apache on my destination must, and it's fine. The service is running good. This way you can just make sure this is going to work in 515.151. I go to this machine, I'm going to just remove the same package. Let me just rerun whether roles is functioning really good. HTTPD, just remove this in my client machine, execute it. Yeah, that's the problem with that. It is restarting every time it's installed, so it's fine now. Perfect, isn't it? So when I just go here back in 151 and check whether systemctl status HTTPD, it's failed, right? So there's some problem with service starting. So restart HTTPD. Okay, I need to use sudo. Okay, I'm gonna just remove this package because since the time we have been using yum install HTTPD, I'm gonna just remove this package and clear stuff here back again. So I go to roles, I go to app server, and I go to my main I go to my main playbook file called appserver.yml, and I'm gonna put Red Hat as well. I just don't want to execute only on app server, only 1151. I'm gonna put it on every machine. So I just go to my roles, app server is my main role file, and I'm gonna just go to vim handlers main.yml, check what is this, if there's any problem with the service here. HTTPD state restarted. Okay, fine, it's perfect, and my tasks.main.yml file should be perfect. Oops, it's yeah. So restart space HTTPD is available, and this should be also having the same name. Perfect. So fine, I'm going to execute the main playbook file now to make sure that this is removed. Okay, fine. So I'm going to just execute my main playbook file called appserver.yml. It's going to execute on all three nodes now. It's installing the Apache web server on all the three nodes, and it's going to restart the service, but the job for restart service is executed with some kind of issue. Maybe we need to use started at the starting rather than just doing a restart. So the handler part is not functioning as expected. Let me just remove this package. Okay, we remove the package, and I'm gonna just rework back to present installed. Check whether it's connecting to the handler properly. No, I'm gonna just remove it again and change the handler settings back to absent. Okay, so I'm just gonna change the handler settings back to started. So that is actually expected. Go here and restart space HTTPD. I'm gonna just take this started, save this. I'm gonna just edit this and notify apps notification, making sure that both the names are same. I'm just gonna run app server now. It should install and restart the service. It should run the handler, isn't it? Let me check if the function is happening good or not. So we were at executing some kind of roles framework here. So what the role framework is like, we have written roles where we have app server, the role which we are having a main was file which we have defined the variables, we have defined the tasks, and we have defined the handlers. So we were just verifying, we were facing issues with handler section. I just went into my handler section as of, to check out for the figure. But the main problem which we faced is earlier we have removed Apache directory, Apache user ID. That's gonna, that is what's a main problem. I have created the Apache users, and it's working, and it should work fine as expected. So let me just figure out my handler section, handlers, and just go to my main.yml. Okay, so that's not the particular path. So I just go here, and I just go to roles and go to app server to re-verify on my handler sections. And I just go to main file and main.yaml file, and it's gonna like be same. I'm gonna just use restarted as before, and I just go to my task section to verify again whether I have proper tasks updated. I just go to main.yaml. Yes, it's having proper task updated, but I'm gonna put it as latest here, and that's gonna install my HTTPD on my client machines. The master playbook file, is outside the roles directly, so it should be under a smaller role here. So here if I just type ls-l and just see my master, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste this, and you can see this is happening. I am going to run this now, ansible hyphen playbook and app server.yml hyphen v to make sure I just check in the verbose mode. It's going to execute. It's going to install the Apache in my destination, and it's going to run the handler, and it's going to change only thing which the package is installed. So I go back to my task section. I just go back to my task section, and I want to remove that and reinstall it so that I can find changes on every server. So what I go do is I go to app server, and I go to vi tasks. Oops. I go to a task folder, and there's a YAML main.yaml file, and I just put it absent. When if I want to remove the package, no need to put notification to restart services because there's no requirement for restart. So when I hash that and run my master playbook file, I'm going to run the master playbook file called app server.yml. I'm just going to uninstall the package and all the machines without running a handler. Now I go to my tasks, app server tasks, and I'm just want to install back again. Just shows like how efficient we are just writing the code in different directories and not in only one file, which is going to become complex. Present. So I'm just removing the notification because we want the package to restart once the installation is complete. Installed, installer present, both are not the same. I'm just gonna go back and execute the master file, ansible hyphen playbook app server.yml. Execute it, and it's going to connect to the handler, start the services. Perfect. Good. Let me verify here in my client machine. Here I can just type sudo systemctl status httpd. It's going to see my activity, like the server is running on my client machines. Earlier it was failing because I have removed the Apache user in my user administration. Now I have added the Apache user back, and it's working fine as expected. This is not going to work because it's a Ubuntu machine. So good. Now we are going to start something called role based tasks. So what we have discussed is a role based task is done. Now we're going to use pre and post task execution. So how do we do that? So now pre and post task execution. So I go back to my roles. So remember here the role directory structure is very much important. Mm, I am into major role, and have created multiple roles like app server, Red Hat, Ubuntu. I am working on app server role where we are having a handler section in handler file written in main.yaml, task in task main.yaml, variables written main.yaml file, and we are having a global master playbook which we are going to run this. And if this file, if you just open, you will come to know that okay, just open and you come to know that it's actually linking to one of the role called app server. So that role is connecting to this and executing the tasks. Cool. So the next thing which I want to discuss is pre and post tasks. So I go to my roles directory and I go to the smaller roles here, and I want to execute pre and post tasks. So how do I execute? Is like I go to my master YAML file, and once I go into the master YAML file, after connection SSH, I can eventually type pre underscore tasks. So before executing the role, I can perform these tasks. How long the role task took to execute. I'm going to use a raw command line, raw date home test start.log, and then it's going to execute my role to installation of the Apache HTTPD and to restart the service via handler. Here in app server role we don't have variables, so the dummy variable we have created. Then later we are going to put post tasks. So we are going to put post task after the role has been done. So post tasks. So what are the tasks we can put in post task is name and when did the role task completed. I'm going to put the raw command module where it's going to just pull me the dates, and it is going to just put me the into my end.log. So once we are done that, let me just execute the master playbook file. It's going to first execute the pre-tasks, then roles, then execute post-tasks. As you see here, how long the role task has been executed, then it executed the app server role and it executed my post-task. The moment it executed, I need to go to my home directory to see when is the start date and when is the end date. It is going to go inside this home directory as I suspect. Yes, that's right. And I can see perfect. The start log has been created, start log, and it started at 6:1 and end log started at, it stopped at the same time. So each one it is going to show the same thing. Each one will be having a logs. So it will be having a start log, which is a pre execution of role, stop log, which is a post execution of log. So the start log is available here and end log is available here. So just type ls-ltrarray to showcase that which one is the recent file. So start log is pre task, end log is post task. In between those timings the role has been executed. Okay, so we can see that in here in the same directory we can see start log and end log. In between these the roles can be executed. That is called pre and post task execution. After this topic, we are going to push on to something called conditional execution. The conditional execution is something where there is some condition applied and the tasks of roles should be done. Okay, hope you guys are understanding like that the role part is like a critical, and it's going to use very less amount of data, but it is going to perform tasks very efficiently, not in a single YAML file, but we are going to split up into handlers, variables, notifications, tasks, and master YAML file. Now we are going to start working on something called roles conditional execution, and let's start working on roles conditional execution. And we are in the master server. Let me just check whether our Ansible is intact. Yes, it's intact. So now to explain conditional execution, we need to remove HTTPD on all the clients. So here we are sudo yum HTTPD, so that our explanation of conditional execution of roles will be really good. Sudo yum remove sudo yum remove httpd -y sudo yum remove httpd -y. Perfect. Okay, here let me just remove apt-get remove apache2. Just remove the apache2. Sudo apt-get remove apache2. So it's going to remove my all Apache packages that's required for my conditional execution here. So I'm into the master server now. Okay, so we're going to install Apache in both Red Hat and Ubuntu depending on the distribution. That is my task. So what we'll do is I go to roles, I go to my smaller role here, and I have already app server used, but let me use the same thing again. Instead of using Red Hat and Ubuntu, I can use anything. I go to app server here. The first thing is I want to create a task. I go to task, edit the main.yaml file. Here we want to install Apache web server, and that is on Red Hat, and it's going to restart and notify the service. But we can use conditional execution, something like this: when ansible underscore os underscore family equals Red Hat. So it's going to install only when my Ansible OS family is Red Hat. That is one part of conditions we are giving. Okay, that one part of conditions we are giving here. We're not notifying anything as of now. We don't want to use handlers, and I'm going to use something called conditional execution. So no requirement of using handlers to start services. Errors, we are going to ignore errors. Fine. I'm going to use another task in my main task of app server tasks main.yml. So I'm going to use another task where I'm going to install Apache web server. Earlier I told you like how to install Apache web servers using the same YAML file. I'm going to do that now onto different distribution. Ubuntu. Here we want to use apt package equal to Apache 2 state equal to latest. When ansible underscore os underscore family is Debian. Debian is nothing but Ubuntu distribution. Use the same thing here. Okay, so I'm going to ignore errors. Yes. So I'm saving it. So as you read through this YAML file, you come to know that it is going to install only if it is a distribution of Red Hat. If it's going to install if it's distribution of Ubuntu. By default, this package, this YAML file is going to install packages on respective distribution. I'm going to copy this and show you where it is coming from. Save. I can just use Ansible Ubuntu Ansible all and -m setup, and you can use filter option, isn't it? So we use filter. We use filter at the beginning of the class where to showcase that this is gonna run fine. So what we did is filter a filter equal to put up this Ansible OS family, just put enter. So you can see that Ansible OS family is Red Hat and Debian. So since that we are deploying it into my YAML function. Fine. So now we are gonna use conditional execution to make sure that it is gonna function as expected. I'm gonna open the main.yml file again. Yeah, this is what is my task to be done now. Remember, we don't have any notifications, not connecting to any handlers. The task is just to install these packages on conditional way, depending on what OS it is to the destination machines. Let me just start executing. Excuse. And I'm going to just use the main master playbook file for this again. Why? Because we are having app server.yml file, and you can see inside that it is going to check pre-task, it's going to check post-task, but it's going to have a role called app server. If I remove that role, app server.yml, and if I just hash it, or maybe if I put some other role called Red Hat, let me see what is going to happen. Definitely it should not execute, or maybe it is going to have a plain execution because the role of Red Hat does not have anything, right? Yeah, it should be a plain execution because there will be nothing inside it, and you don't find Apache here. So you can just check here using ps-ef grep httpd. I can't check the service because service we are not restarting it. Okay. So I'll go here back and I'm gonna just edit app server or YAML and just gonna put my role called app server. Execute it. Let's see. How long it takes to take the task. Yeah, it is installed. Perfect. So what we do here is in the main Ansible file, right? YAML file. I need to just mention my host all. Earlier, you can see that when Ubuntu system is trying to execute any install of package, it is going to throw error. Now you can see what is happening. Okay, cool. So you just go from the starting to the starting of the table. It is having a task set up perfectly fine. Having how long role it does take perfectly fine. When the task of app server install Apache web server Red Hat has come. This task is actually coming from role section inside app server inside main.yaml file. The moment task of Ubuntu installation arrives, then it's going to skip that because 105 is Ubuntu machine and it's going to install on all Red Hat machine as installed sometime back. When it comes with the next task where you need to install an Apache web server, it's going to skip all Red Hat machines and install only on Ubuntu machine. And this task of when the role is paused, when the role is completed is going to showcase here. But here again, the home directory, you can see the start log update and log when we just now. Perfect, right? Perfect. So pre-task, pre-roles and post-roles task executions are done and it's connected to roles and different distribution type of installation has been done. This is called conditional execution. Now we're gonna have something called variable substitution. Fine. What I'm trying to tell is now. Okay. So I go to app server and I go to. So as of now we have role-based tasks, we have completed post tasks, we have conditional execution. We are going to start working with variable substitution. Okay, we were working on a role-based task. We worked on pre and post tasks, and pre and post task was written and designed in a particular main YAML file, and it's redirected back to the role section. We have worked on conditional execution where we try to install a particular package in my various Ansible distributions. Now we are going to work on something called variable substitution. So how do we do that? I just go into my tasks here, app server. We are having tasks folder here, and I'm just gonna edit. I'm just gonna take this backup. Main.yaml backup. I'm editing the main.yaml file because every time when you run the master playbook, it is going to execute only main.yaml file. Every time, instead of giving the package name here, I can replace it with a kind of variable. So how do we do that? Like this. We can just remove instead of giving package every time, and just replace it with Red Hat _ Apache. So perfect, right? And I'm going to go here, replace this with Debian _ Apache. So we have defined some variables. Now we have defined some variables. We need to go define those variables in my variables part here. I go to was. I go to main.yaml file here. I'm going to define variables here. One dummy variable is there, which we defined some time back, which is not required now. I mean, let it be. It's going to not affect you anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put Red Hat _ Apache is to HTTPD. Instead of defining the package right at the main.yaml file, we are doing a one-step automation. We are going to put Apache 2 and define the variable, right? Save it. We did save it and try to execute the main task. It should work fine because we have defined a variable. That variable should come and link here. Everything is happening inside the folder. We are working as a kind of project. The roles are kind of projects here. So I go and I just type Ansible hyphen playbook and just type app server.yml. It is going to execute connecting back to the variable, and debian underscore package is undefined. So I should check out why it's undefined. So let me just check the issue. Okay, app server, and I go to handlers. Sorry, I need to go to was and vim main.yaml debian underscore package apache 2 debian underscore apache 2 perfect, and I go to my tasks vim main.yaml file, and I go here debian underscore apache state equal to latest, so it's good here. Perfect. Rest, it's undefined. Okay, let me just check back properly what is undefined here. Debian underscore apache when ansible os state equal to. Okay, so, yeah, let me just re-verify again. Okay, I need to put to installed latest. Anything you can put, but I'm going to put installed. I'm going to just remove the packages here. Sudo I'm going to remove the package in each redundant machine so that our execution and output will be clean and good. Oops, Spectre. Just removing the package, checking out if that's possible with my, just verifying here. Perfect. So I'm just triple open playbook, and we're going to execute app server.yml, the master file, to check out it's going good or not. Install Apache was true, Debian Apache is undefined. So this installation, it's not connecting back to my okay, so it's not connecting back to my machine. So Debian underscore Apache. So I need to just figure it out why it's not connecting into my tasks. Main.yaml file. Okay, maybe I need to just go to my var section, remove the first line, I believe. Vim main.yaml debian. Yeah, the spelling is wrong here. You can see that is why it's showing undefined. So it was DEBIA, it was DBAIAN, it's DBN. Perfect. So this why these spelling mistakes gonna cost us a lot of time. But anyhow, we fixed it, and let me just rerun the command. So I'm just gonna use Ansible hyphen playbook app server. Sorry, are we in the correct directory? No, we need to go to roles, right? And we need to go to smaller roles, right? Then Ansible hyphen playbook app server.yml is a master file. Now we can see it's going to work fine because the file is defined now. Now we can see from top to bottom the task is getting executed. The task for how long it's going to take execute is working fine. Okay, so we were facing issues with the app server execution because the variable what we defined right now in inside this app server role, we were inside this wars directory, we were having a main.yml file. So this main.yml file, I had a different spelling here. It was a DEBAIAN, And what I did just now was we were facing problem earlier when we just tried to execute a package. So we were actually facing error something like this: Debian underscore Apache is undefined. So we just went to that particular YAML file, and we found that there's a spelling mistake, renamed DEBAIN. So I renamed it back and re-executed the task, the master playbook task. It's working fine. So we need to make sure that the spellings are really good and tasks are properly defined. So I'm into the task, I'm into my main.yaml file, and I can see uh, this Debian underscore Apache. This one should get linked with vars and main.yaml file, and it should be same. The spelling of this one and the definition the variables which we created in the vars directory should be same. So we did execute, but I'm going to execute again and re-verify whether I can do it a variable substitution properly. Yes, I go to roles directory here, and I go to roles path here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so this is my master YAML file, and I can just open that, check what is there. You can see again it's going to execute the task on all host. It is going to execute having a pre-tasks available. It is going to execute on the role called app server. The role is available here, and we are having just type tree app server. This we are having a main.yaml file as a handler. We are having main.yaml file in task. We are having main.yaml file in the was. Since these all the stuffs whatever available in app server, we are giving as a role here, and we are having a post task. So I'm going to re-verify again running it. If it is installed, it is going to show in green. If it is not installed, it's going to show in red state or yellow state. So let me just try working on it and execute the command. If it is installed, it's going to show green. The reason why it is skipping here is we are given a conditional execution in the previous lecture where we want to install the package only if it is a Red Hat here. Since all these other machines are Red Hat, it is installed. If we want to install the package only if it is Ubuntu. Since all these machines are Ubuntu, it's not installed, and only one machine is Ubuntu, it's installed. This is called conditional execution, and it triggered the role task started and role task ended, and I can see the role start and role end here in my home directory. It is going to have start.log and end.log on each home directory available. Start.log and end.log, and we can see start.log and end.log. Okay, so you can see start.log and end.log. So we are now done with conditional execution, variable substitution, pre and post task, role based task, and directory structure which we created some time back. We are going to start working on something called handlers now. So handlers is again an important concept in Ansible roles. We're going to use a same example and start functioning good for handlers. Eh, so let's take a same example. Okay, so let's start working on handlers. So what we are going to do now is we are just going, before going to the handler section here, we are into app server, and we have a handler section. So all the work should be done inside the handler directory here. But before going that, let's define my task. I'm going to go to task, and I'm just taking a backup of particular YAML file so that we face problem we can revert it back, and just put it as conditional tasks. I'm just gonna go edit the YAML file. Now earlier what we have done is we have installed the package. So we know that handlers are something when the events are triggered, and something which needs to do when a kind of interrupt has happened. Something like if you want to restart the service after installation is complete. Since we've just bothered of installation in the previous lecture, so we're going to start using handlers to restart services after installation. So what we are going to do now is we are going to add something called notification to restart the service. So notify is to, I'm going to use notify is to restart HTTPD. Remember the spellings are really important here. The spellings mistake, then we are going to have a hard time debugging it. Restart Apache 2. In earlier YAML files, we used to just give service name, everything here in the here in the task particular file. But what we are going to do now is like we are just putting a notification to make sure that it is redirected back to the handler directory and start the service there. So remember, we are having restart httpd and restart apache 2 return as a notification. Save it. We have added in the task file. In tasks file, we are added in more here. We are having notify restart httpd, notify restart apache 2 added. These two notifications should be put up in handler to restart the services. So I go to one step back, go to handlers, and I can see there is a YAML file handler, so I don't want to use that. I'm going to just put copy -pr main.yaml.backup. So I'm just editing my existing main dot now. We know the handler, whatever we gave us, we need to be the same name. So I'm going to put yeah, I just forgot what name we gave there. So let me just grab that name. So one is restart httpd, another thing is restart apache 2 with R and A caps. So remove it, and I'm just going to paste this. Service httpd, remember we have defined a variable earlier, right? Okay, let's just do this and restart apache 2. I'm going to just use this one, copy paste apache 2. Earlier we never used to have a mix-up of distribution of operating systems and Ansible, Ubuntu and Red Hat, but we are just doing every task in mix-up using roles. Okay, so now it's done. I'm just gonna go back to my roles directory here, and I'm going to execute. Before executing, just remove the package of httpd, so that we'll have a clear distinguishing of what is happening in my client nodes. Now I'm gonna just use my app server, and it should app server YAML. It should install and it should start the service as it is connected to the handlers. Handler's job is to just restart the service whenever the event of notification occurs in the main.yaml file. So I just use ansible-playbook app server.yml. Remember, again, it is using conditional execution. It is not going to install Apache here because it is the Ubuntu machine, as we given the Ubuntu. This is not going to install Apache in the Red Hat machine because it's already installed here and it's installed in my Apache server. It is running the handler and it is starting the services accordingly. So I need to go here back and check any kind of HTTP is running. I just use pre-CF grep httpd. I can see httpd is running now. Systemctl status httpd. I can see httpd is again running here. I'm going to just verify in my each machine so that everything will be fine. Perfect. It's restart the services using handler methodology in roles as well. If I want to just check my package here, so I can use service apache 2 here, apache 2 status, because it's Ubuntu and you can see the service is running. Okay, the next step is I'm going to remove the package again. I'm going to remove the package again here to verify a further level of automation in handlers. I'm removing the package here. And I'm removing the package in my Ubuntu machine as well. So if you guys are just joining to the class, just seeing what is it up to, these machines are actually getting launched from AWS console here. So these machines are running from AWS console, and I have been set up everything from module 1. So please go through module 1. Just check out if in case you guys facing any kind of issues. Okay, now we have removed all the HTTP packages. We have all removed from all the servers. To go for the one order of next level of automation, I go back to the roles. I go to a handler. Since we are discussing of handler section now, I go to app server. I go to handlers, and there is a main.yaml file. I go to main.yaml file, and instead of using name, since we already have the variables created, so I hope you guys remember where we have created a variable called Red Hat _Apache. can put in those variables instead of just putting the direct package name. And here we are having debian underscore, remember with the spelling properly, and save it. So I'll go to the variable directory to see whether the variables are set. Yes, the variables are available. I just go to the main.yaml file and I can see the variables are set. Now if I execute the task, it should do the same work which it did some time back for me. So Ansible, before running the master file, let me open the master file for you guys. So appserver.yml, it's going to have a pre-task. It is going to execute this role which is available here, and it's going to run all type of tasks, handlers, and variable section, and it's going to throw the output, and it's going to run post tracks later. Fine. Ansible -playbook, and what we're going to do now is like use appserver.yml. It should do the same work as it is done in previously. Perfect. It is skipping the Ubuntu node, and here it's skipping the Ubuntu node. It's skipping all the Red Hat nodes, installing on Ubuntu node. It is running handler as per the variables defined in my variables directly. It is running the handler here. You can see there earlier we used to have only single handler. Now we are having different handlers running as per the variables defined. So all good. So we now just learned how to use role-based tasks, how to create directory, how to use pre and post tasks, how to use conditional execution, how to use variable substitution, how to use handlers, how to use variable substitution inside handlers to make sure that we are writing the code in an effective and efficient manner with a clean and a crisp methodology. Next roles we are going to discuss is waiting for the events. As the name indicates, the roles are going to wait until some event is being completed, as we did it in module section where we will install the Apache server, but we just gave a module called wait for. That shows us that some other event should get complete before this task is going to get continued further. So what we are going to do for waiting for events lecture roles. So let's start with the same concept which we did now. So let's start working on something called waiting for events in the roles module, roles concept. We earlier did it on a module section, but we will go how to implement this on a role section. So what we're going to do right now is go to my master file here and take a backup of whatever important file we have done. So I just go to tasks, and this is my main configuration backup. So I just take a backup of main and rename it as handlers. So main.yaml file, and I'm going to just showcase how to use wait for concept in terms of roles. Okay, so fine. So let's just rewrite the YAML file, and to just showcase how it is going to function, I'm going to put a new task called name wait for service listening port 80. Okay, so when we wait for something, we don't want something to do it automatically. So I'm going to remove the notification. Once I remove the notification here in the main file, it is not going to check on the handler folder and the handler's main.yaml file. I remove the notification. I'm going to wait for manually to start the port 80. Okay, so I'm going to use wait for module. I'm going to use port is to 80, state is to started, state is to started. I'm going to run this and try manually executing a particular command in my client nodes. I'll try opening the ports and it should work well. So that is the concept here. So let me just do that in a while. 1 second. Okay, but what we're going to do now is like we will just copy this full tasks and come down here and paste it. The reason why we are doing this is because I'm going to delete this. We want something to run when the port is open, right? So the task should do like this. It should install the package. We should just wait for the port to get open, and it should install the Ubuntu package. It should install the package in Ubuntu as well. So this is the task, and we are using wait for methodology. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just run the main Ansible file. Okay. um, 1 second. It's going to run Ansible file. So we were just trying to run this particular app book for YAML. So I'm just executing this. So the moment it's executing, um, it's waiting for service listening port, isn't it? So it is just waiting for my ports to listen. Unless and until I just open the ports, it is not going to um, you know showcase me the work. So what we're going to do now, we are going to open the port one by one on this machine. So what I'm going to do now is like in 158 I'll just open the port. I just use sudo systemctl start httpd. The moment I open on all ports, then it is going to go further. I'll just open ports in other 3 machines. Perfect. Once the moment I open, it is going to go. So let me just see what is this going to happen. If it's not happening, then I need to rework it. Yeah, it's not happening. Fine. So we were just checking out some kind of issues we faced earlier. So I'm just checking the wait for service to get started, and I'm just checking the syntax because it's not working as expected. So I just reworked again, and I'm checking now. It's like it's going to install the Apache on Red Hat, and it's going to wait for the service to start on port 80. And once it's the port 80 is open, then it's going to start installing Apache and try restarting the service via a notification. So I did remote notify some time back, but notification is required for Ubuntu because here the port is directly opened manually by me, but for Apache let it get opened by a notification. Let's try to rerun that again. Ansible. Okay, so I need to go into my master playbook file. Ansible -playbook and appserver.yml. Just execute it. Okay, it's showing some problem here. I'm just going into my home directory here and check my .yml file. I'm just going to tasks to check my main.yaml file to check whether I'm facing any issues. I'm going to remove tagging, which is not required for this, and required for this. Ignore errors. Yes, fine. It's fine, right? Okay, it should open the port 80, then it's going to proceed further. So playbook, and I'm going to give this .yml. Ignore errors. The opening line appears to be having a problem. Okay, let's just check what is the problem here. Okay, so I'll just do a rework now. I'll just make sure that take it from the backup because the file is having some syntax issues, and I'm just going here and typing my main.yml file. So I'll put notification here because I want to notify and run it when the service is started. So I'm going to put notify debian underscore apache. Right? No. So I want to use handlers, not the basic one. Main.yaml file, and I'm going to remove notify only to Red Hat. Let the notify be for the other machines, and um, I'm gonna add a particular waiting to port get open. So let me just do that as well. Okay, so I'm gonna put another task here, as I did some time back. Name wait for port 80 to be opened, and wait underscore for is to port is to 80, state is to started. So I'm just going to execute the command now. Just going to wait for port 80 to be opened. It's going to wait for port 80 to be opened. Let me see. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so I should open it on my this machine. No, it should work automatically. It's not continuing further. Let me just debug it further. So what is the problem with this? Okay, so it's actually the port is getting opened, and it's gonna wait until the port is getting open, but the port is already open. That's why it's getting stuck. So what we need to do is we need to remove the packages. So it's already it's already running, so that's why it's getting stuck there. I'm just going to remove all the packages now. Rerun the command. It's gonna function as expected. As I told you, it's gonna work only if it is like the package is not installed, and then that of the services are still not running. So I should open the port now, since earlier checkups were happening when the port was already opened, isn't it? If I open the port for 158, it should show 158 there. Just see, 158, perfect, right? Elapsed 24 seconds elapsed, and it's going to open the port. If I just open the port for 157, I just you know it's going to start 157 until and unless I start the port. Oops, I need to use sudo. I can see that the port is getting changed now, and again 157 is working fine. 151 I should open now. So I open the port. I used to just start the service even though the service was running some time back. So now the ports are open fine, and it's just going to wait for that particular post, and also it is waiting for something else, right? Yes, so we just open the port is open fine, and after that task it's going to start installing the machines on the Ubuntu. So it should go for the next task. Let's wait for some time. So we were just working on the YAML file where we were just checking whether the port is going to start or not. So after this, instead of just installing Apache, what I'm going to do now is like I'm going to just install the FTP package, and I'm going to just change this to direct installation rather than, because the FTP, the waiting of port for particular um, YAML file is having some issues. I'm just removing this and putting back some changes where I'm gonna just remove ignore errors as well. Just see whether the port is getting open or not, and but before that we need to just remove all the packages here. Just remove the packages here on each and every machine, and I'm going to just change my master I'm just going to change my master YAML file to include only Red Hat servers. Yes, that's right, so to include only Red Hat servers now. I go here back, and I go give the group called Red Hat app server, and I'm gonna execute the YAML playbook file right now. So just execute the YAML playbook file, and it's going to install the package, and it's going to wait for the port to start. I'm going to start the port in 158. Started the port. It's going to reflect back. It's going to change state, and it's going to start working on other machine, and it's going to reflect back on 157, and then it's going to change another port in another Red Hat machine. It's going to reflect, and it's trying to execute the FTP package command, but it's not happening. So the reason is because it's using apt Ubuntu package management system, so that is the reason. So I'm going to just go to my role section, main.file, vim main.yaml file, and it is using package management system apt. That's why it's showing the problem. So I'm going to use change to yum and execute it, re-execute back. It is going to show problem because we want to see the reflection. Remove the package in every machine again, and oops, I need to remove the package. Perfect. So moment I remove the package, I clear it. Oops, I clear my screen, and I don't want the verbose output, so it's just providing unnecessary details. And execute the wait for events package app server. So the moment I install, execute that, it is going to check how long the role task took to execute. It's trying to install web server package in these 3 machines. Earlier we were facing issues because the tasks were just the ports were not properly integrating with Ubuntu server. So I just removed Ubuntu and tried to work on it. Right now it's working fine. When I just open this port, it is going to pop up here. Until and unless open this port, the YAML file, the main file, is going to wait and sit there for so long, and it keeps on checking whether the port is open or not. So I just start the port here. I can see back the port is okay, telling okay. I just open port here, and it's going to tell okay. I'm just going to open port here, and it's going to reflect back, and after that it's going to install package, and it's going to tell us when the role task completed. It's going to recap everything. Good. If I do the same thing again, it is going to not wait because the services are already open. The port is already open. Fine. So let's comes to an end of the waiting for events lecture. So next thing which you want to execute is executing a task until something pops out. So this lecture is all about executing a task until some pop-up or some kind of service comes out. So we used to execute until some manual intervention is happened, like this, like to open the port. But now the Ansible infrastructure, the Ansible software is going to detect itself if something like this is going to happen. If something like trigger is going to happen, or something like an error message is going to come, then it's going to perform the task automatically. No need manual intervention. So for that we have a particular example defined in our task. So that's called waiting for a task until. So there's a difference between waiting for events and waiting for a task until. This task will be automatically detected by Ansible, but this for waiting for the events is being actually designed to do it manually. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just copying that YAML file and renaming it main.yaml file, and main.yaml file dot wait for events that we did now. So I'm going to just do the modification of YAML file in such a way that we need to wait until a certain task has been progressed further, certain task has been calculated. So what I'm going to do now is we need to just make sure that we need to execute the task if there is any kind of error message like stopped or running is happened. So I'm going to do something like this now. I'm going to remove this. This is not necessary. We waited for a manual intervention and we did that and we got succeeded. I'm going to use name. I'm going to use shell system ctl status httpd, and I'm going to register the result using a register variable, and that will be having a result. Okay, so until, follow it up carefully, it's going to register the result until result standard out result.standardout dot find equals -1. What does it do is every time if I just type system ctl status httpd, if the status of the Apache web server is active, the YAML file is going to run. If the status of Apache service, like, it is not active, I mean to say that it is grabbing the particular keyword from the status factor, and if it is active, it is going to continue executing. If it is not active, it is not going to continue executing. So as our tasks now, executing a task until the service is active. If it is not active, the task won't execute. So just follow up with the steps, and you will understand when we do a real-time practice now with a particular YAML file. And this tells that the Red Hat package will get installed, and the status command is going to execute until you find active tasks. If you're not finding active tasks, the below tasks are not going to execute. If the moment the active task is available here, the below tasks will continue to execute. That is like, wait for until you find an active running task in the client node. I'm going to execute in real time so you'll understand it properly. But how long it is going to wait? Earlier it is going to wait until I give a manual intervention. So earlier in the task, right, wait for events, the task is not going to continue further until I manually go and start the service. But if it's doing automatically and it's still waiting for active running service, how long it is going to wait? So since there's no manual intervention, I need to tell the Ansible something like, okay, try for so much of time. If you're not able to find active running status, please proceed with the below packages or the below tasks to continue. So for that, we have something called retries. Retries is 5, delay is 5. So what does this do? The system ctl status httpd package shell is going to run, and it is going to pop up the result in the result directory here, and it is going to grab the active running. If it is active running, then it is going to install the FTP package. If it is not active running, then it is going to try 5 times every 5 seconds delay. It's going to have every try with a delay of 5 seconds. Okay, so after this, we're going to have a debug, because I want to see how it is trying at the backend, right? So I'll have a debug. And let's register to let's register that to debug. Let's register that to var equal to result. Okay, so after this, let's just try executing the particular Ansible package, and let's see. Okay, there's a debug problem happening here, so let me fix that. Okay, so you can see that it is going to fail until and unless one of the server is having a particular service not started. So I mean to tell that there is one server which is going to showcase that the service is not available. Let me check whether servers are available or not. Yeah, the services are not available, and the service is not running in a particular mode. So let me check whether it's not available here. Yes, the service is running properly in this machine. Here the services is running fine. Here it's running fine. It should execute, but it's trying to execute checkout in some other way. So let me just figure out what it is trying to do. So we were finding issues with the debug. I just fixed it with the -debug properly, with the proper spacing. If in case you're not putting up spacing properly, then it is going to show a problem. So now I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to just stop the status, stop the HTTPD for all the machines, so that it should figure out, stop HTTPD, or it should be a sudo. It should be a sudo for that. Sudo. I'm going to stop it. Okay, I stopped it on all the machines. I should stop now. You can see that the status is not active. I tried to execute the app server command now. Just go to back to my previous command where I did. Yes, this is the one. Just execute. install Apache on web server. Yes, it's installing Apache on web server client, but it is going to try until I just execute started my service. I start service here. It is changed here. Good. It is going to try, and I need to do it very fast because it is having only 5 seconds. And I'm going to do here, and I'm going to just start fast. By the moment I change, automatically it is showing some issues, so that's why it did not change. So I'm going to rerun again to check whether if it is like to just give good. Yes, it is going to execute because the services are running fine and everything is good. So what does this playbook file, playbook main task file is doing is it is grepping for something called active and running. It is grepping for this particular uh, keyword. If this is available, then it is going to go and try to execute the next installation of FTP client and roles everything. This role is actually coming from a master playbook file, as we have discussed earlier. This is coming from the main task file, and if it is not present, so I'll give a longer delay. So what I'll do is I will give a longer delay for explanation. It's going to try 15 times with the delay. I mean, it's going to try 10 times with a delay of 5 seconds each. Let it be. And I'm going to stop the services in these machines. So it should not run until and unless it find active running in the status command. Okay, I stopped and I'm just executing the playbook. It is trying to recheck whether the installation is done. Yes, the installation is done on the three servers. It is trying to check 10 times with a 5 seconds of delay. So I have a lot of time. I can just start the service, one service. The moment I start the service, it is going to check next time that one of the service is working good. It found that it's active running state. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to start and I'm going to see the other service is going to take a change state. Perfect. So I'm going to do another thing, start the service again. Now it is found the active status in all the servers, so it is going to throw the output. And since I have put debug, then that's why the output is showing like this. Cool. So we have done with executing a task until if the task is running with active status, waiting for events to open the port manually by me. Now we are going to do something called passing the variable. So that is again an important thing. How do you pass a variable command line and online? Okay, so we completed with a lot of roles in the playbook. One, we did started working with a directory structure and templates, and we started working with the role-based tasks. We started working with pre and post tasks. We also started working with conditional execution of installing different type of packages in different hosts, and we are already working with we all did work with variable substitution. We did work with handlers, waiting for events, executing a task until there's another particular role called passing a variable. And how do we perform this? So just follow through the steps which I'm going to explain in my Ansible courseware in Eureka. So I'm just going to check whether my Ansible environment is intact. Again, Ansible -m, Ansible all -m ping. This is going to tell me that my Ansible environment is intact. So I just go to etc Ansible host to verify what groups I am in right now. Perfect. This is my group section. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I go to my roles and use tree to check what files I have created so far. You can see the app server, the files having handlers. One is YAML backup, conditional task handlers, wait for events. So all these are doing in one role. I can do the same thing in my different Red Hat in my Ubuntu depending on my requirement. So I'm going to just stick on with my app server. So it'll be like easy, friendly, and gonna go on with. I'm going to go to. I can just go to tasks and start passing my variables. So how do I pass a variable online? So what we can do is passing a variable online is very simple. I go to my roles directory. I copy my appserver.yml file and rename as dynamic.yml. Oops, the equal to sign must not come. Okay, I renamed dynamic. The spelling is wrong again, so I renamed with that, and I'm going to use dynamic dot this thing. I'm gonna use passing the variable. How do I pass the variable? See, instead of using Red Hat and app server, I can pass the variables using something like this. Host, perfect, and save the main YAML file, dynamic file. So now I'm trying to execute the same thing. So what I'm trying to execute now is using Ansible hyphen playbook dynamic. So this is my dynamic file. I'm going to remove this. This is not required. Remove. Oops. Remove r hyphen rf. I'm going to remove this. Remove r hyphen rf. I'm going to remove this one as well. So I have put passing the variables using a slight change here in my dynamic file, which shows this is the host file. This I need to pass my variable in this section. So how do I pass a variable via command line? Then I can use Ansible hyphen playbook dynamic YAML hyphen extra hyphen was hyphen extra was. Remember, this is a passing of variable command line was hosts equals. I can put Red Hat. So this is host equal to Red Hat. Pass the variable into this section and it executes the command. Let me try. Perfect. It's working fine and it's taking only 2 machines. That's under Red Hat. And you can see since the state is active and running, it is taking my role. Why it is taking the app server role? Because my dynamic URL is having role called app server. That is the reason. If I want to pass a variable like app server, which is again a Red Hat machine, I can just rename with app server, enter. It is going to take only one host because under app server I have only one host. Since I am getting active running, it is not going to throw me any problem. Let me just stop the service here. Run the same thing again. It should hold because it is not able to find active status running there. Because we were just in the previous class, we just explained about the wait until that state of active running appears. So it's going to try 10 times with a delay of 5 seconds. I'm going to just start it now. Start. The moment I start it, it is going to try for the next time and it's going to throw the output and it's going to install the FTP Red. If I pass the variable Ubuntu, do you all think it's going to install? No, it is not going to install because Apache 2 is having a different package management system and it's having apt, but we are having yum here, so it's going to throw problems. It is going to skip, but we don't have anything running, so this is going to be a waste playbook. It's not aligned with Ubuntu, so all good. Passing variables is done. I need to use tags now. How do I use tags? So as we did in the module 4 playbook section, we have worked on tags and how to use tags properly. We can use tags in this particular role section as well, and using tags is again it's easy concept. What we can do is I can go to my tasks playbook. Here I'm into this thing and I'm into app server. I go to my tasks and I go to vim main.yaml file, and for each task it is going to have a particular stuff. So what I'll do is I'm gonna just copy my handler section and rename it with main.yml. But before that, let me save this. Rename it with wait until, and I'm gonna use my handler section, rename it with main dot. So I'm gonna use main.yaml. I'm gonna assign tags at each end of the tag, each end of the task. Tags is to remember its tags is to Red Hat. I'm gonna go back end and put tags is to Ubuntu. I have added tags. Module 4 is a proper explanation of how to use tags. I have explained it properly. Here I have added tags when the roles are in progress. So I go to roles and I just check whether my master playbook is good. Master playbook is good. It's going to use to these two servers, but and it is going to use pre-task role, app role, and everything is fine. But it is going to work on the tags which I am performing here. So which is going to task, tag on which task I am performing here. Even though the master server is having Red Hat app server as host, but it will work only on my tags. So how it's going to work only on tags is like we need to execute such a kind of command line now. What we can do is we can just use Ansible hyphen playbook and use the particular role. So we are having app server dot yml hyphen tags is the role which is going to tell us that which one should we use. Hyphen tags equals red hat and oops, I need to use in a reverse way. Yeah, hyphen tags equal to red hat and we have app server dot yml. As we did this, we can see that even though we are giving host red hat comma app server, since the tag whatever I have given, it is trying to execute only red hat stuff. It is not trying to execute Ubuntu stuff. Even though our roles, even though our tasks is having both. You can just see my tasks file, main.yaml file. It is this main.yaml file is having a Red Hat package installation tagged with Red Hat. It is having Ubuntu package installation tagged with Ubuntu. Since I have given tag equal to Red Hat, it is going to execute, override my main master master playbook file, even having host mentioned Red Hat and app server. It's going to override and choose only whatever tag I have given. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my directory where I have master playbook file, and I'm going to execute that. So I just now executed tags. If I want to execute Ubuntu, I am going to change that to Ubuntu. Execute it. Perfect. It is now going to execute only Ubuntu tasks. Okay. So since Ubuntu does not have any tasks to be done, so it's just skipping it. So particular task is getting executed. If I want to skip Ubuntu and just install Red Hat, just use skip hyphen tags. It's going to skip Ubuntu and do only Red Hat things. If I want to skip Red Hat and do only Ubuntu things, use skip Red Hat here. You can do either way. Perfect. So now we have done with using tags. The next thing is breaking a playbook into a role. So far whatever we did, it's like breaking a playbook into a role itself. So if I just type tree roles, and you can see all the YAML files is predefined in tasks, and every YAML file is shortest file, and it's very easy. Each YAML file is connecting with handlers. Each YAML file is connecting with vars. Each YAML file will connect with templates. Each YAML file is connected with files. So we are splitting this full playbook file into a tree structure like this, and we will have one master file which is taking care of what to do and what not to do. So this is what. But if you just go and see the playbooks, I don't have any tree structure. So it is like huge files, and we don't know how to maintain all these files, and how it's very tedious. But inside role section, you can just type tree. See, it is like it's like everything is fluctuated, and if I just type playbooks and just tree, and you can see it is just a single file with lot of files coming in picture, and we are not sure, we might miss any kind of concepts. But in terms of roles, everything is predefined and everything will go at proper places. So no need to worry, we can just keep on having a role structure and give our playbooks YAML files a certain methodology. You can see all the tasks will go under task in this particular role. If mentioned, this role is mentioned for production, this role is mentioned for development, we can have production and there's associated tasks and the associated handlers, associated variables. Eventually, if you just go to github.com and type called here we can type called github github Ansible. What we can do is we can get modules, each are designed in the term of roles, each are designed in the term of roles. So what I can take is like uh, if I just type OpenStack git Ansible module. Okay, so OpenStack Ansible module, you go to the GitHub, which is a free open source community platform, and you can see each one is designed in such a way that it is going to manage in terms of roles. One such example I can show you is roles. Yeah, each one is designed in terms of variables, which we have written variables here. Tasks, we have tasks main.yaml file, and roles. We are having a lot of roles put up here. Metadata, where we are having metadata information here. Library, everything is put up in a form of structure, and easier for us to understand how things work in Ansible using roles phenomenon. So always roles, Ansible roles makes a top edge compared to Ansible playbooks and modules, which we discussed in module 4 and module 5. Thanks for listening to roles lecture. I think we have covered most of the things. If you want to understand a complete roles modules, everything, then we can just type roles, Ansible roles, and understand there are thousands of roles available, um, which we can implement during our work and start doing. So I have covered most of the important topics roles, and we can start working on most of the roles available. Just go through the Ansible documentation to understand clear cut extra understanding of the roles phenomenon. So thanks for listening to Ansible rules.